Last year, we finally saw the log lift world record broken. A 15-year-long record held by Zydrunas Savickas finally was broken. 229 kilos by Biby. And we have the log lift world championships and potential record attempts coming up. 2nd of April, it's part of Europe's Strongest Man, going to be the first event. Biby is talking about coming back, and we're going to go through a list of potential athletes, hopefully to help the selectors, help you guys get a clue of who's kind of done what, and particularly in competition what they've done, and also for you guys to have your opportunities to voice who you think should be invited as well.
So I was going to interrupt you when you said someone finally broke it, because according to Zydrunas, no one's broken it.
This is true. Mr. Zydrunas does not agree that it was a world record. It doesn't agree that it was a proper lift. He's complaining about not being fully locked out. And to be fair, I mean, I almost made a video recently about judging. You can never blame the athlete. If the referee says down to you, then you put the bar down. So I do feel judging needs to be really strict across all this, particularly when we're going for world records. Obviously, good quality judging. But you can never have a go at the athlete. No. And I see that a lot. People kind of start criticising the athlete. The athlete will lift to the rules that are withstood by the... as athletes, we should train to a high standard.
Of course.
But let's see Biby come back and smash it. And let's see Zydrunas come in and do it.
Well, Biby is obviously the first person on our list as the official record holder with a 229 kilo lift that he did as a guest lift at the Scottish show in Glasgow, the World Tour final. He was supposed to
rewind
do
a little bit.
He was supposed to do it at Europe's Strongest Man, had an absolute disaster with the travel, and then Graham and Luke said they were happy for him to do it at a later date at a competition, because obviously they were the other sort of big contenders that were going for it at the time. Neither of them obviously able to at Europe's. And then Biby guest lifted at the Glasgow show and he broke the record there. So we would love to see Biby. I mean, he can't compete in the whole of Europe's Strongest Man. Obviously, he's not European. It would just be the log lift championships as a guest lifter.
So the next man on our list, as we just mentioned, Biby being the new current record holder. Zydrunas Savickas needs to be on this list.
Bring him back.
I want to see him. Zydrunas, I spoke to him when we were out in America.
Yeah.
And obviously, he won the Masters out there. And I went up to him and I was like, Zydrunas, what's your goals now? You've won everything. What's left to motivate you? He genuinely, just, deadpan as Zydrunas is, says, I want to break the log lift world record. He's 46 years old. He's been past his prime. But when Zydrunas says something, you almost have to go, yes, sir. Zydrunas has such a authority in the sport. He's done so much. If you kind of don't know the history, go out and check out this guy in his prime, because in my opinion, he's the greatest strongman of all time.
He's by far the most decorated in terms of competition.
Absolutely. He's won more competition wins, more world records. I mean, he had the log lift world record for 15 years.
Yeah. We should point out, it wasn't 228 for 15 years. He kept taking it up. Yeah. So
he kept breaking it. And it's probably one of the most contested records as well. So to have that record for such a long period is quite incredible. And I think if he's motivated and he wants to do it, invite him along. Zydrunas versus Biby.
Oh, you'd love to see it. Next on our list, you just cannot talk about log lift and not include this man, the spicy Mr. Luke Stoltman. He currently, his PB right now is 221 kilos that he did as part of the Worst Feats of Strength. He was so close to locking out the 230. It was almost there. Maybe a signal delay in the referee.
Zydrunas judging as well.
Online.
Yeah.
He posted as well before that 230 point something, 230 watts, something like that in training leading up to that lift. So maybe training wasn't optimal and maybe he went a little bit too heavy, too close to actually going for the record. But I would love to see, we know Luke's going to be in this competition, or we think we know, because he is the current title holder. So he's going to want to defend his Europe's Strongest Man title. However, it is right smack bang in the run up to World's Strongest Man. So who knows? I don't think log records is going to be Luke's priority, but I would love to still see him lift something massive.
I want to see Luke take it seriously, because we know what Luke's capable of on the log, and if we have Biby going there for the record, if we have Zydrunas going there for the record, and if we can get a few other guys that are really potential record level, It would be probably the most exciting log lifting championships ever.
So next on our list is Graham Hicks. Now Graham's best in competition was 220 kilos that he did at Europe's Strongest Man 2020 in far from ideal conditions. It was outside and it was windy. I mean, we weren't there. You could see it was windy. Flags all over the place. So I would love to see, I mean, he was at Europe's Strongest Man last year. He was nowhere near his best on the log, but a lot of guys struggled on the log.
It was a weird one, the log lift last year. I don't even think we can take it seriously because there was question about the lighting and, you know, all sorts of stuff, weird stuff going on.
Slippiness.
The fact is, the log they're using, Hicks has done 220 on.
Yeah.
That's fact. The log they're going to use, he's done, you know, near the world record level on. Hicksy I spoke to the other day currently has a groin injury, which is pulling him out of some earlier contests, but he said his pressing is feeling ridiculous.
Okay.
And when Hicksy says his pressing is feeling ridiculous, you say his pressing is feeling ridiculous. You know, he is one of the strongest men on the planet, and when you're talking about log lift, you talk about the three men we've mentioned and Hicksy. So next man you have to invite is Bobby Thompson. He broke the American record last year at Clash on the Coast, 217 kilos.
0.5.
There we go. Liz correcting me as always. But Bobby is a monster overhead presser, someone that definitely deserves an opportunity to come and compete for the Log Lift World Championships and potentially, you know, that extra year, Bobby young, still improving. Those young guys can improve quicker than the older boys, you know. Zydrunas is going to find it hard to get back to that level.
Yeah,
I can stand there and, listen to him all day long, and I'd love to see him come back and be the best he's ever been. I just find it hard to believe. The younger guys, you can see that progress all the time. They're getting better. It's not, they're not reached their peak yet. So next man we've got on our list is Mateusz Kiliszkowski, someone who has done big logs in the past, exceptionally good for reps, particularly with heavy logs. You know, the wake in one motion, a 180 log is quite scary. Seen him on Glenn Ross's logs, which are very awkward and just destroy the whole field in terms of the way he manhandles them. Now, obviously, the big question with him is coming back from the tricep injury.
Yeah.
We will hopefully see what his log is like at the Arnold's.
And this is just a few weeks after the Arnold. So really, there's no proper prep for Europe's Strongest Man.
It's a month after. So I think Arnold is going to give us a real good idea of who should be going to the Log Lift World Championships. But we know what he's like.
Yeah.
And he's done 214 kilos a couple of years ago.
He didn't even have to do it. Do you remember that competition? He'd already, out of all of the guys that were continuing with the competition, he'd done the biggest.
He just still wanted to go and break the Polish record.
He's such a perfectionist. And
he doesn't have the Polish record yet, though.
No, Kiliszkowski's got it with...
Radzikowski's.
That's how I meant. With 218.5.
It might even be higher than that. I'm not sure. He was a monster. I'd love to see him back in Strongman, but he's focusing on MMA right now. Lost a lot of body weight. But the Polish guys are strong, and Kiliszkowski currently probably the strongest when it comes to log lifting.
So next on our list is Trey Mitchell. Now Trey, he came joint first on the log at the Shore Classic, max log they did, first event, and he came joint first with Bobby Thompson. So
who's the current American record holder.
But Trey, he's still relatively new to the sport. He's still very young as well. He's improving all the time. I would love to see him in this competition.
Absolutely. Trey is an absolute beast. His shoulder power is just getting better all the time. I'd love to see him over attacking the log and pushing for American record potentially. Who knows, maybe even more. Next up, we're talking about another American, Mr. Rob Kearney, the former record holder. He's done 216 kilos on the log. A lot of people question the way he lifts because he does the split jerk. And he's coming back from a tricep injury. So that's the only question mark with Rob, but he's got the pedigree. He's done big numbers time and time again. He was the American record holder. I'd love to see him back to his best and give him a chance at this show.
Now, someone else who was an American log lift record holder, Mr. Robert Oberst. He did 211 kilos. Now, it was back in 2015. Realistically, I don't think he would do this just because he's had some issues with his shoulder, so it's probably not the best time to be pushing yourself in that respect. But imagine having the two previous American log lift record holder and their current one in the same competition. It's a competition within a competition within a competition. I think it would be really cool.
I would love to see Obi going against these guys. If he was in good shape and, you had you'd really decide who's the best American log lifter. I don't think any of them have quite got what it takes to challenge the absolute top guys when it comes to the victory and the world record. But seeing those four head to head for the American record, that would be exciting. So our next athlete is the Canadian Maxime Boudreau, who hit 205 kilos at World's Strongest Man last year, which tied him for second place with Trey Mitchell.
Yeah.
Only Luke Stoltman managing to beat those two. So he's got the pedigree, he's proven he's good enough in competition. I'd love to see him maybe attempt, Canadian records and really push to see how high he could place in a log lift championships against the best in the world.
And interestingly, at 205, he has the lightest max log lift out of the guys on our list. It goes to show how crazy it is. All of these guys have 205 plus.
Well, this is an interesting fact, and I'm just going to give Jack as an example. So Jack, one of the young lads that I train, he has the British log junior record. He's lifted 200 kilos in the gym, but he's not managed to do that in competition. Now, there's loads of guys that have done big numbers in the gym. It's only when you back it up in competition that you can then be really considered to be one of the absolute best. Loads of us have done certain numbers in training, but you need to go to competition and prove it. And 205 in competition, when you look at results from last year, is massive. There's very, very few guys that have gone above that kind of number in competition. You start looking at Eddie Hall, Zydrunas, Radzikovsky, but there's not that many, especially when you go over the 210 mark.
Oh yeah,
it gets even less. I know there's a lot of guys out there doing big numbers, and I'm sure you guys are going to comment below, what about this guy, what about this guy? But doing it at the high level shows that's not on your log, or it's not
out of a rack, or
there's many factors. We've all seen the guys that we're even talking about do big numbers in the gym and then do less in a competition. So sometimes when we see guys on the internet, certainly you can't just chuck them into the deep end against the very, very best right away.
Now, I feel like this next one's a bit of a wild card. So even though they've put up a massive number in the past, it was a while ago. And it's Dimitar Savatinov. 208.5 kilos he did in the 2014 America's Strongest Man. But we saw him recently at OSG. And he was looking good. He won the log lift there, beating Zydrunas. He did 11 reps with 147. Now, I know that doesn't necessarily translate to a massive single, but I would love to see Dimitar in this.
He looked powerful and explosive on it. And when you beat Zydrunas by 2 reps, you're doing well.
If we're inviting Zydrunas, and obviously we don't have any power, we're not inviting these people, we're just saying who we want
Liz
to see.
Liz is inviting anyone she wants.
Yeah, come on everyone. Then I think we should pop Dimitar in there too.
I just want to make this clear, because I get messages from people all the time. So, can you get me invited to this show? Like, we don't have any say in invites.
We're not on the committee.
This is just our thoughts, and hopefully it does help.
Hopefully our influence, but really just our thoughts.
So the last person on our list is Rongo Keane. Rongo is an incredible log lifter, a lovely human being. I absolutely love watching this guy. Unfortunately, with everything going on in the world, we've not been able to see him in some of the bigger shows over the last few years. So I'd love to see him given an opportunity if we could get him over and compete in the Log Lift World Championships. 2019, he competed in the SBD Log Lifting World Championships, and he won with 207 kilos?
207.5.
207.5. He's a monster log lifter. I'd love to see Rongo given that opportunity, and I know the fans would love to see him in an arena show.
So there we have it, Lozzie. That's our list. And there's not long to go until this competition.
No, there's not that long at all. What we're looking at, the 2nd of April.
Yes.
So not too long at all. Guys, get your names down of who you think should be in that list. Yes. Obviously, we don't see everyone. I know you guys have been seeing like new up-and-coming people that have done some ridiculous numbers in the gym. Bear in mind what I said. What we do in the gym isn't always what we'll back up with in competition. And of course, let us know who you think is going to win. Do we see Biby versus Zydrunas Savickas for the log lift world record? How amazing would that be?
It would be fun. I'd be up for that.
Guys, we'll catch you soon. While you're here, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my awesome strength content.